Hey guys, welcome back to T-Bones Tech. In today's video, we are going to be reviewing the Canon 40mm F2.8 STM lens. Now, this is a Pancake lens for a full frame camera. As you can see, this Pancake lens is extremely small. It is actually smaller than a Canon EF-M to EF mount on this Canon M50. That's how small this lens is. And in today's video, we are going to be doing a full review over this lens, and hopefully by the end of this video, you will know enough about this lens to decide whether to pick one up or to not. There have been a lot of times where I've experienced using a 50mm lens on a full frame camera, and unfortunately I want it to be just a little bit wider, and that's exactly what this lens was designed to do. This lens is an EF lens, not an EFS lens, and that means that it's designed for full frame cameras like the Canon 6D, the Canon 5D Mark IV, or any Canon camera with a full frame sensor. This lens will work on cameras with APS-C size sensors like the Canon T7i or the Canon 80D, but if you put this lens on a camera with an APS-C size sensor, we're going to have a 1.6 times crop factor, and that's going to turn this 40mm lens into a 64mm lens, which is going to put it in a weird kind of awkward in-between stage. To demonstrate this crop factor, we have the full frame Canon 6D on a tripod with the 40mm lens attached to it. And as you can see, it is relatively wide, so we're just going to snap this picture. And this is what the picture is going to look like. Now let's put this lens on a APS-C camera. And now we have this 40mm lens attached to the Canon 80D, which has an APS-C size sensor. And as we can see, it is zoomed in a lot more than the Canon 6D was. So let's go ahead and take this picture and check it out. So this is what the photo looks like, and as we can see, it is definitely zoomed in a lot more than it was on our full frame camera. 50mm is a great overall standard focal length when used on a full frame camera, and 85mm is a great focal length for portraiture. Unfortunately, 64mm is kind of in a weird in-between stage, and shooting this lens on an APS-C camera is definitely pretty weird. So if you're looking for a lens with a 35mm equivalent of 40mm, on your APS-C camera, I definitely recommend picking up this 24mm lens. This 24mm lens is designed to work with cameras with APS-C size sensors, and this EF lens is designed to work with full frame cameras. As you can see, when this lens focuses, the front element is going to extend, and it's going to take a little bit for it to get to where it needs to be, but it really does snap into focus relatively fast. This lens has Canon's STM focusing, which is going to make it great for autofocusing during video. It's going to give very smooth and very creamy looking focusing, and that paired with a camera that has Canon's dual pixel AF is going to make for an absolutely great video environment. This 40mm lens has a 52mm filter size. 52mm is actually a very cheap filter to buy, so that is definitely very nice. But unfortunately, this lens does not have any mount for a lens hood, so you're going to have to go without one. As far as aperture blades go, this lens has 7 aperture blades, giving us very nice and smooth looking bokeh. And the lens flare, as you can see, really isn't too bad when the aperture is stopped down. The minimum focusing distance on this lens is 0.3 meters, basically a foot. And that allows you to get very close up to different subjects and still be able to focus on them. You only have to be a foot away from whatever you're trying to focus on. This lens unfortunately does not have any sort of image stabilization, which would be really nice to see, but of course it is a Pancake lens, so there's really no spot to put IS in this lens. But it would be really nice because it does have that STM focusing, which makes it great for video. It would be really nice if we could have seen this lens have IS built in. As far as lens construction and build quality goes, it definitely is a very premium lens, especially considering its very low price tag of around $135 on Amazon. It does also have a really nice all metal back, and the lens just feels very nice and premium. But the lens is built in Malaysia and not in Japan, where Canon's higher end lenses are made. But now it's time for the fun pixel peeping part of this video, where we jump in to see the actual image quality of this lens. Alright, so here are a few sample pictures of the 40mm lens. This first picture was shot at f2.8, and we're going to zoom into the middle to check for sharpness. And we can see here it's relatively sharp here in the middle of the picture. So let's stop down our aperture to f4 from f2.8. So this is at f2.8, stopping down to f4. We can see we gain a good amount of extra detail here at f4. Now let's up down our aperture to f5.6, and here at f5.6, I would say we definitely gain even more detail and more sharpness. Zooming into the corners here to check for sharpness in the edges, we can see it's definitely very soft here at f2.8. Stopping down our aperture to f4, we can see it gets a little bit sharper, and then stopping down our aperture to f5.6, we can see it gets razor sharp here in the corners. A lot of people were saying that this lens suffers from bad vignetting, and I really don't see that in any pictures at all. So zoom into this corner again, and we are shooting here at f2.8, and here we can see that stopping down our aperture really doesn't make the corners brighter at all, but it does make them sharper. So I really don't see how this lens suffers from bad vignetting, but other people in their copy of the lens might. And last but not least, we're going to look for chromatic aberrations. We're going to zoom into this high contrast area of the photo, and here we can see there's just barely any chromatic aberration, if any, and this is wide open at f2.8. Stop down to f4, the edges here get even sharper, and then stop down to f5.6, the edges of the brick get even sharper with basically no chromatic aberration at all. This lens definitely isn't the sharpest, but considering its price tag of around $135, we definitely can't complain. But that's all I got for you guys in this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up down below, and of course make sure to hit the subscribe button and then to be notified whenever we release new videos just like this one. If you guys have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comment section down below. I will try to answer all the questions that I can. But that's all I got for you guys in this video, and I'll catch you all in the next one.